Okay, time for practical automatic language translation tips. In a nutshell, use image search, round trip it, and watch for homonyms and colloquialisms. These are my tips based on real experience, so I'm going to explain all of those with real examples. In this video, I'll be using Google Translate with English and Japanese, but you can use other software and languages. I've successfully used the same tips with Spanish and Portuguese, for example. So first, if you want to translate image text rather than raw text, you should try an image search first. This can quickly lead you to either a similar image with the text translated or a forum post where someone already provided a translation. It can also quickly give you a text transcription to work from. Once you have text, you can use my tips for automatic text translation. For ease of explanation, first I'm going to cover translating from a known language to a foreign language, then I'll cover the harder case of translating from a foreign language to your native language. When translating into a foreign language, you can check how well your ideas were preserved by reversing the translation, which is very helpful, though not foolproof. My first tip for preventing translation mistakes is to avoid using colloquialisms. Sayings, proverbs, and slang tend to be culturally specific and therefore are more difficult to translate accurately. Similarly, you should avoid homonyms. Context is much more helpful to human beings than to computers. The more things a word could mean, the higher the chance of a translation mistake. If possible, substitute words with more specific meanings to make misunderstandings less likely. Now, if you're translating from a foreign language into your native language, your more limited knowledge of the foreign language and culture is going to make things a lot harder. The first thing to watch out for is that depending on where you're getting the foreign text, it may contain spelling and grammatical errors, which complicates things significantly. Consider passing the text through a language-specific spell checker and accepting automatic corrections before translating it. For slang terms, you might want to look for a foreign equivalent to urbandictionary.com, which usually does exist. As an alternative, though, you can put stubborn words or phrases in a search engine and look at the image results to figure out what's being referenced. To address the homonym problem, look for words in the foreign text that are repeated several times and look them up separately in a dictionary. If the word has multiple meanings, determine which one is most plausible based on context and make sure that's the definition being used by the translator. If needed, you can coerce it by replacing the problem word with a more specific substitute. And my last tip is to translate a sentence or less at a time. This tends to provide a more literal translation. When you give too much at once, translators can choose to ignore details they aren't confident about and give you something that's more of a summary translation. If you're translating to a foreign language, you may not mind losing some unimportant details as long as you're getting your point across. But if you're translating from a foreign language, then most of the time I think you'd be better off starting with a literal translation and deciding yourself how to summarize it. Good luck.